At 3:15 a.m., deep within Russian territory, 34 Ukrainian drones surged through the mist at nearly 300 miles per hour. In under a minute, they would strike the largest Shahid drone factory, the very heart of Russia's drone warfare, where attack UAVs were assembled daily. Russia had long boasted about Valky as a symbol of industrial might, resting its confidence on layers of NEBOM and Pantsir S-1 defenses. But Ukrainian intelligence had been watching closely. Over 2,000 hours of satellite imagery revealed a flaw. Night shift operators often ignored radar blips that resembled bird flocks. A plan took shape. They would strike on a night with heavy fog, fly the drones low, and disguise them as birds. If it succeeded, Shahid production would be crippled. If it failed, Ukraine would lose millions of dollars and hand Russia a propaganda victory. But then came the bad news. Russia had deployed a 96L6 mobile radar unit, manned by an elite veteran crew, with standing orders to shoot down any suspicious movement. The gap Ukraine thought it found was no longer there. Inside a cramped Ukrainian command vehicle, operators initiated the first phase of the attack. 10 Banshee jet drones were launched at high altitude. Their role, to emit radar signals mimicking a Su-27 fighter squadron, drawing Russian attention upward, the perfect decoy. Meanwhile, the real strike force, 34 Ram 2X drones, dove low, gliding silently through the fog at around 100 feet altitude, their only shield, the mist itself. The entire operation was orchestrated by a customized AI known as Night Owl, receiving real-time data from an RQ-20 Puma reconnaissance drone circling at 15,000 feet. The AI compensated for 15 miles per hour crosswinds, adjusting the trajectory of each drone individually. Still, human pilots stood ready to intervene, watching screens like hawks, hands clenched on controls, prepared to assume manual override at a moment's notice. The screens lit up. Tiny blips advanced toward Valky. In the tense silence of night, the attack began. Bearing 15. Radars blooming. One Ukrainian operator shouted, gripping the joystick tightly. The countdown had begun. The drone swarm had only 7 minutes to slip past enemy fire and reach the target before the seasoned Russian radar crew could tell decoys from real threats. 3:19. The bait had worked. In a fortified Russian command bunker, the veteran commander saw exactly what Ukraine wanted him to see. 10 large radar contacts, approaching fast, looking identical to a flight of Su-27s charging straight at his position. He didn't hesitate. Engage all primary targets, he barked into the radio. Crush them. The Pantsir S-1 systems roared to life. Within 30 seconds, interceptor missiles lit up the sky. 6 Banshee decoys turned into fireballs, glowing brilliantly in the dark. On the radar screens, the false threats were wiped out with surgical precision. Inside the bunker, the Russian operators worked like machines. Their commander, calm and confident, issued rapid-fire commands, fully trusting in their tech. He believed it was just a sloppy air raid, easily neutralized. He had no idea the real threat was still coming, and it was flying below his line of sight. But everything was already part of Ukraine's calculations. Inside the Ukrainian command van, operators watched the decoy drone symbols disappear from their screens, a sacrifice that had paid off. By trading one group of drones, they had earned 30 precious seconds of chaos for the real swarm. The easy part was over. The Russian command team, no longer blind, sensed something foul and switched to search mode. With the decoys now neutralized, the veteran commander issued a new order. Scan all frequencies, all altitudes. He knew something else was still out there. Surprise had lost its edge. The Ram 2X swarm had less than 5 minutes to reach the factory before being detected and intercepted. 3:21 a.m. The Russian commander's fury boiled over. He knew now he had been deceived. But Ukraine had anticipated this response. The AI coordinator, Night Owl, activated a second strategy, Phantom Echo. The goal was no longer to hide the drones, but to transform them into something else. The swarm instantly split into 3 chaotic groups, each flying with unpredictable motion. Their flight software was coded using real migratory bird behavior gathered from forest patterns in Belgorod Oblast. The result, they flew like the real thing, a massive flock heading south. On the radar screens of the young Panzer crew, the contacts no longer registered as mechanical objects. They blurred, became soft and erratic, appearing more like biological signals than machines. At 15,000 feet, the RQ-20 Puma reconnaissance drone released a special infrared flare. But this wasn't to fool missiles. It was meant to blind the Panzer's optical cameras. The flare's light diffused through the thick fog, creating a whiteout, a blinding glow across every visual feed. What was once considered Russia's natural ally, the fog, now turned into a weapon against them. Inside the Ukrainian command van, a young operator shouted, "They've lost lock. Go, go, go." This was the moment they had waited for, 15 seconds of pure, weaponized confusion. Everything unfolded exactly as planned. The young Russian operators were confused, reporting no clear contacts. But their veteran commander wasn't looking at the main screen. He was focused on the backup 96L6E radar, a newer, more advanced system, capable of seeing through almost any disguise. And on that screen, he saw it clearly. Among the flock of birds was a group moving out of sync, a pack of wolves hiding among the sheep. 3:22 a.m. The old commander made his decision. No reports, no confirmations. He manually flagged the suspicious signals, designated them as hostile, and sent the firing coordinates directly to the Panzer battery. Immediately, 4SA-22 missiles launched from their silos, screaming into the sky at a terrifying speed, over 4,000 feet per second. Each seeker locked tightly onto a group of 12 Ram 2X drones. But just as Ukrainian operators were about to activate their automated evasive protocols, an unexpected variable struck, not human, but nature itself. A sudden crosswind of roughly 25 miles per hour tore through the formation. On FPV monitors, the horizon tilted violently. The AI tried to correct, but was too late. 3 drones failed to compensate in time. They collided mid-air, bursting into 3 separate fireballs in the sky. Red lights flashed on operator panels as 3 signals vanished. Worse, the 4SA-22 missiles were still incoming. Now the team had to deal with 2 threats at once, Russian missiles and an unpredictable atmosphere. On the Russian command channel, the senior officer grinned like a victor. "They are out of tricks," he declared. The plan seemed to collapse. Nearly half the attacking force had been wiped out, and the mission now rested on a single, fragile thread. With only seconds left before impact, many believed it was over. The AI had exhausted all calculated maneuvers. Hope now shifted back to human hands, and the operators had one last card to play, an electronic decoy borrowed from American technology. Each Ram 2X drone was equipped with a miniature AL-050 decoy system, the same protection used on F-16 fighters. This wasn't just a simple heat flare. It generated both radar and thermal signatures 100 times greater than the real drone. At the operator's command, for decoys fired from the tails of the drones currently being tracked. The SA-22 missiles, still locked onto their previous targets, were distracted by the juicier, false signal. They veered off course and detonated harmlessly nearly 1,000 feet away, forming 4 fireballs in the sky. From celebration to dead silence, the Russian command post froze in disbelief and rage. The commander, once the hunter, now stood as a helpless witness to unfolding disaster. With the last missile threat neutralized, the final assault order was given. The remaining drones split into 3 strike teams, just as planned. One headed for the main assembly hall, one targeted the parts depot, and one locked onto the central control building. The Night Owl AI now did something brilliant. It used the same crosswind that had earlier caused chaos as a tailwind, boosting the surviving drones forward for the final attack. The result, Russian defenses were broken. Every trick countered. The path to the factory was now wide open. 31 Ram 2X drones remained. They now entered their final dive runs. They didn't just crash, they became precision-guided weapons. Inertial guidance systems combined with GPS locked onto the factory targets with an error margin of only a few feet. The first drone, carrying a 15-pound shaped charge, drilled through the roof of the assembly hall, pierced through 6 inches of reinforced steel, and detonated directly above the Shahid 136 production line. One by one, the rest followed, striking the parts depot, hitting the command center, delivering a synchronized wave of precision strikes. The key was timing. Each warhead's fuse was delayed by 0.8 seconds, designed to maximize pressure waves inside an enclosed structure. This wasn't like a typical outdoor blast. Here, the shockwave, reaching up to tens of thousands of psi, ripped apart every circuit board and electronic component within a 50-foot radius. The steel columns, once holding the assembly hall's roof, collapsed inward under the synchronized internal pressure, crumpling like soda cans. The roof gave way, burying over 200 nearly completed Shahed drones under tons of twisted metal and concrete. A secondary blast incinerated the control room servers, erasing 3 months of production data, logistic schedules, and technical blueprints in seconds. The drone plant was no longer a factory. It became a graveyard of smoldering wreckage. Sirens screamed across Veluki, but was too late. FSB agents rushed in, trying to seal the scene and control the fallout. A plume of black smoke, towering nearly 300 meters, rose like a tombstone for Russia's drone ambitions. The damage report was devastating, around 70% of the production line destroyed, with 15 top engineers and 30 workers killed. By 4 a.m., satellite sweeps confirmed it. The target had been neutralized. Images showed a 6-meter crater where the main assembly hall had stood. This wasn't just a successful strike, it was a calculated obliteration. And the true damage went far beyond twisted steel. This wasn't a mere raid, it was a preemptive strategic decapitation. First, Russia's supply of aerial reconnaissance platforms was severed. Units in Donetsk, dependent on Shahed drones for battlefield intelligence, suddenly had nothing. With no steady flow of drones, their surveillance and response capabilities took a nosedive. The psychological chain reaction was even more alarming. Just weeks after the Windweaver cascade disrupted the Volga power grid, this strike sent a clear message: no strategic asset is safe. Ukraine was no longer just defending. They were now penetrating hundreds of miles deep, systematically dismantling the enemy's war machine. While Moscow fell into confusion and paralysis, Ukraine used the 72 hours of chaos to launch 5 fresh assaults around Kyiv. In the Kremlin, a chilling question echoed in a security briefing: how did they even get in? With just a few dozen drones and a brilliant plan, Ukraine demonstrated a fundamental truth of modern warfare. Victory belongs to strategic intellect, not numerical superiority. Russia learned a bitter lesson that night. Never underestimate Ukraine's drone capabilities. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive in this unfolding war of algorithms, airspace, and attrition.